Hello from Dhaka, this is Noshin Anjum and you are watching BSS News. At first, the headlines. Country should prioritize stronger accountability system, says planning advisor. Japan-Bangladesh cooperation boosts carbon market readiness, Article 6 implementation, says advisor Rizwana. Advisor Farouk receives 24 lakh taka donation for Chief Advisor's Relief Fund. 114 July martyrs exhumation begins for post-mortem DNA tests. No breakthrough at constructive Ukraine-US talks 1. Now the details. Country should prioritize stronger accountability systems, says planning advisor. Planning advisor Dr. Wahiduddin Mahmood said Bangladesh must now focus on an effective democratic transition, stronger accountability, and a long-term plan for a fair, discrimination-free society. He said these are essential for a functional democratic order and sustainable economic development. He was addressing the annual BITS Conference on Development 2025 at the Porjoton Bhavan in Agargaon on Sunday. Dr. Mahmood said Bangladesh is still working to establish a functional democratic arrangement even after 5.5 decades of independence. He said democratic institutions alone are not enough unless political behavior improves. An elected parliament, an accountable government, and independent oversight bodies are necessary, but political conduct is the real test, he said. He linked youth unemployment and poor quality education to the rise of patronage-based politics and said these issues cannot be solved by blaming politics alone. On economic governance, Dr. Mahmood said development requires major administrative reforms and end to collusion between business and bureaucracy. He said reforms depend on trust, incentives, and social norms. The statistical system, the advisor said, needs greater transparency, including digitalizing BBS dataset, but stressed that political will remain crucial. He said reducing inequality and creating a discrimination-free society involves ideological questions that political parties must address clearly in their manifestos. Japan-Bangladesh cooperation boosts carbon market readiness, Article 6 implementation, says advisor Rizwana. Environment, Forest and Climate Change Advisor Soyoda Rizwana Hassan said carbon trading must function as an investment channel, a technology transfer tool, and a mitigation instrument. She said adaptation financing alone cannot protect coastal areas because adaptation has limits and mitigation is the long-term solution. She was addressing the Business Forum on Joint Crediting Mechanism Project Matchmaking and Advancing Article 6 implementation in Bangladesh at Department of Environment today. She welcomed the revised JCM rules and noted Bangladesh's pre-launch of its first national carbon market framework during COP30. She said the framework gives clarity for investors and called for wider consultation so vulnerable communities are not excluded. Rizwana highlighted Bangladesh's updated NDC 6.39% unconditional and 13.92% conditional emission reduction by 2035. She urged the Department of Environment to prepare an implementation roadmap and asked ministries for sector-wise action plans. She called for stronger private sector involvement, urging industries to go beyond tree plantation CSR and support renewable energy, energy efficiency, resilient agriculture, and nature-based solutions. She also advised strict monitoring for waste-to-energy projects. During the program, Soyoda Rizwana Hassan and Kitaro Suji launched the Article 6 guidebook for private sector developed with IGES support. She said it will help businesses identify mitigation opportunities and join emerging carbon markets. Advisor Farouk receives 24 lakh taka donation for Chief Advisor's Relief Fund. Disaster Management and Relief Advisor Farouki Azam Bir Protik received a check for 24 lakh taka from HDFC Sinpower Limited to support people affected by the recent floods. The check was handed over at the advisor's office at the Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief today, said an official press release. The advisor expressed gratitude to the organization for extending support to flood-hit families. Disaster Management and Relief Secretary Mohammad Mustafizur Rahman, Sinpower Limited Managing Director Su Zen, and Head of Finance Liu Ze were present at the handover ceremony. 114 July martyrs exhumation begins for post-mortem DNA tests. The exhumation of 114 unidentified martyrs of the July uprising began this morning at the Rayar Bazar graveyard in the capital. Authorities initiated the process to conduct post-mortem examinations and DNA testing to confirm their identities. The bodies will be buried with due honor after the forensic procedures. Criminal Investigation Department Chief Additional Inspector General Muhammad Sibgatullah told media at the graveyard near the Rayar Bazar Memorial. He said they hold deep respect for those who sacrificed their lives and that it is their responsibility to reveal the identities of those buried without names. He said the process is being carried out under court orders and in line with international standards. International forensic expert Louis von der Breder and a team of forensic anthropologists were present. The CID chief said the expert arrived in Dhaka through the United Nations Human Rights Office and is leading the process, having conducted similar work in many countries. He said families have already submitted applications and DNA profiles will be created. If identities are confirmed, the bodies will be handed over to the families and CID hotline numbers will be provided for contact, he added. Louis von der Breder said he has been working with the CID for the past 3 months and assured that the procedures fully comply with global forensic standards. To support the exhumation, the CID crime scene unit has set up tents and equipment inside the cemetery. The operation follows a court directive issued on 4th August in response to a police petition seeking exhumation for legal and identification purposes. The 114 victims were buried as unidentified individuals during last year's anti-discrimination movement. Authorities said the process aims to ensure dignity, accountability, and justice for those who died in the July uprising. No breakthrough at constructive Ukraine-US talks. 3 days of talks between Ukrainian and United States officials ended without a breakthrough on Sunday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he joined negotiators for a constructive call with U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner in Florida and committed to continuing talks toward real peace. The parties agreed on next steps and the format of future discussions, he added. Meanwhile, Russia launched over 700 drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight, targeting energy sites, railways, and other critical infrastructure, causing outages for thousands of households. Zelensky said Russia's aim is to inflict suffering on millions of Ukrainians. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed all designated targets were hit. In Europe, French President Emmanuel Macron said he will meet Zelensky, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz in London on Monday to review the US drafted plan to end the nearly 4-year war. He condemned Russia's escalatory path and stressed that Ukraine must receive robust security guarantees for lasting peace. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff said progress depends on Russia showing serious commitment to long-term peace, including de-escalation and cessation of killings. Security arrangements and deterrence measures were also discussed, but the specifics of guarantees for Ukraine remain uncertain. That's all for today. For more information, visit bssnews.net. Thanks for watching.